Hey guys, so we have learned some basic things with Tkinter. So now today we are going to learn something about showing text on our GUI window. So open your Visual Studio Code, not Visual Studio Code, PyCharm, sorry, my bad. So open your PyCharm here. So I have this PyCharm and we have this basic simple window which we have created in our previous video. So if you haven't watched that video, then you can find the link of that video in the I button now. So we have this window, so let me change the size of this window. So let us make it let's say 800 by 600. So we'll make it 800 by 600, and here we have this window. Now here I would like to show a button, or not a button, a text, a simple text here. So I will first of all change the size to 600 by 400. So the window will be like this. Okay, so here I would like to show some text. So what I will do is, in here after the title I will go down, and here what I will do is I will add a label. So to add a label, what we have to do is we have to use the label, which is inbuilt method in this Tkinter class. So first of all, what I will do is I will use text, which will be the variable in which I will store the label. So we have this label, and now this label takes some arguments. So the first argument is the place where we want to render our label. Now this root is our main window, so we want our label to be inside of that window. So let me show you. This is our root window. I want this label to be inside of this window, and that's why what I will do is I will use this root, because this is the actual position or where our text should be rendered, where our label should be rendered. So this text or this root specifies the location where our label should be rendered. Then here I will pass another argument, which will be text. Here I will pass the text which will be shown to the, which will be the label, which will be the text for the label. So here currently I will take hello world. Then we have another arguments like fg, then we have bg, then we have a lot of arguments there, but first of all let us simply use this hello world here. Now we have this, so we have created the class label, and there we have this text. So now let me close this window and rerun my program, but now you will see something that's not what we want. So here, as you can see, we don't get any label or we don't get any text. And why is that? You may be confused. So the reason behind that is we haven't actually rendered this yet. So for that, what we have to do is we have to use the pack method here. So this pack method will basically place this label onto the screen or onto the window. So now after running the code, you can see this hello world has been rendered here. So if we haven't used this pack, we would not be able to render our label onto the screen. So with using this pack, now we are able to render our label onto the screen. Now here we learned how to render the label. Okay, so how we created the label actually. So we created a label, which is the built-in method in this Tkinter. Then we used this root, which is the actual position where this label should be placed. Then we used this text, which is the actual text which we want as a label. Then we used this pack method to actually place this text somewhere in our window. And this pack method, the speciality of this pack method is it will pack or it will place the label or any widgets that we have, any components that we have on the screen by its own. We don't need to place like column and row. So this pack method will pack those or place those widgets automatically. So far we have learned how to show a label. Now what I will do here is I will add a FG, which stands for forecolor or foreground color. So like background, foreground is the actual color of font. So here I will use, let's say, green. So we have green color as a font. So let me show you this. So we have green font now. Now let me save it, and now let me run the code again. So here as you can see our font is green. Now I think the font size should be bigger. So for that we again have a font tag. So we have not a font tag, font argument which we can pass to this label. So we can set the font like this, and here we can set the font to, let's say, Calibri or Comic Sans. So let me set it to Comic Sans MS, and the size should be 22, and we can pass bold or italic or underline here. Okay, so we can pass these arguments or these properties here, but I will keep it simple for now. So I will set Comic Sans MS and size will be 22. Now let me save it, and now let me run it. So now you can see our label is now bigger in size. Our label is 22 size. Okay, so our font is now 22 and Comic Sans MS. So now here, this is one way to show the font or to set the font. The other way is to use these brackets where or a tuple where we will pass the font as first property, so Comic Sans MS, or first value or item, and second will be our actual size of the font, and the third will be the bold or italic or underline, that property. So these are the two methods. So let me minimize this, let me close this. So here as you can see our font is here as a first item. The second item is our text or the font size, text size or font size, and the third item is the property like bold, then we have italic and underline. So these properties we have to specify them here. If you want, you can specify them here. Okay, so let me change this Comic Sans to system, and let me save it, and let me run it. So here as you can see our font is now changed. So you can find this font as a bit classic older font. So we have this classic older font with size of 22, and we can do that here. So we can change the fonts, we can add an underline here. So if I'll add underline, so now we should be able to add an underline. So here you can see the underline is now added. So just like that we can specify the font, we can change the font, but I specifically prefer this approach. Okay, so I specifically like this approach. So okay, so this, so here we pass a string where we specify our font as first argument or first word, second word will be the font size, and third will be the property which we do want. Now save it and run it, still we get the same output. So these are the two different methods to do this same program. Okay, so we can use these two different methods. Which method is comfortable for you, you can use that. So I will go with the first one. So let's set it to 𝗣𝗆𝘆𝗵𝗺, which is another font that I like. So let's set it to 25, save it and run it. So here as you can see we get hello world with underline. So just like that we can set the font. Now let us tweak some color. So let's change the color to green, and I will also use BG. BG stands for background color. So I would like to give the background of black. Now here you will see only the background of this label will change. And why is that? Because we are not changing the label of this root, we are just changing the label of this text, which is this label. So we are simply changing the background of this label, and that's why we will only see the label in black color. So the background of this label is black and the actual label, the foreground, is green. So just like that we can customize our font. We can change the color, background and foreground. We can change the font, and we can obviously change this text. So I can change this text to Programming with Vedant. So just like that I will keep this to 𝗣𝗆𝘆𝗵𝗺 25 size, and I will change this color to red, and the background, I don't want the background, I want the background as default, which is white. So I will keep that here, and then I will run the code. So here you can see I get Programming with Vedant in red color, and the font is 𝗣𝗆𝗆𝘆𝗵𝗺 with 25 as font size. So just like that we can customize our label, just like that we can show labels on our GUI window. So we have learned today that how to show some text on the GUI window, how to show a label on the GUI window, and here we learned how to change the color, the background and foreground color basically, then the font size and the actual font face or the actual font family, you can say. So we have learned all those things. Now we are able to change the font and everything. So I will suggest you to tweak around or to play around with these settings and all those functions, so you can tweak with them, you can play with them, you can change the text, you can try changing the font, you can go on the internet and search for different fonts, you can try changing the colors and everything. So do that and you will have a good practice of this label here. So thank you for watching this video guys, and I will see you in the next video.